The king is dead. You are standing in a corridor cut into the rock of a valley on the west bank of the Nile. The air is cold for the first time in your life. Ahead of you, an old man in a leopard skin lifts an iron blade to the golden face of a boy you served for 9 years. He touches the mouth. He touches the eyes. He says the words that open a dead king's senses for eternity. You watch him do it, and you understand something you will spend the rest of your life trying to forget. The man performing the ritual is not grieving. He is being crowned. You think you understand power. You don't. Not yet. To understand how you got into this tomb, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to the mud. Level 1. The laborer. You are 17 years old, standing in floodwater up to your knees, and you own nothing. Not the hoe in your hands, not the kilt on your waist, not even your own time. The corvée has taken you. The way it takes every man in your village when the Nile rises and the fields drown. The state feeds you bread and beer, and in exchange, it owns your back. They march you to Karnak. You have never seen it before. You expected glory. What you find is ruin. Statues of the gods lie broken in the courtyards. Doorways are bricked shut. Weeds grow between the paving stones of the holiest place in Egypt. Because for a generation, a heretic king worshipped his own son and let the old gods starve. Nobody says his name. You learn that on the first day. The foreman catches a boy saying it and beats him until he can't stand. Your job is to carry stone. Sunrise to sunset, in heat that cracks your lips, hauling blocks to masons who are recarving the face of Amun onto statues that were smashed before you were born. Your hands bleed, then callous, then split again. Your brother Hui works beside you. At night, you lie on reed mats, and he whispers about the palace across the river. He says the king is a boy younger than you. He says the boy king eats meat every day. You laugh at him. Meat every day. Nobody lives like that. There is one thing you have that the other laborers don't. Your father paid a village scribe to teach you your letters before he died. You can read. You have never told anyone. Because a laborer who reads is a laborer who gets noticed. And in this world, being noticed cuts both ways. Then one morning a scribe of the works collapses from fever, and the foreman is screaming for anyone who can count bread rations, and your mouth opens before your fear can close it. You have no idea what you just started. Level 2. The apprentice scribe. One skill separates you from 10,000 men. Ink. They pull you out of the mud and sit you on a mat in the shade. And just like that, the sun stops being your enemy. You count sacks of grain. You count jars of beer. You count men, alive and dead. The reed pen feels absurd in your ruined hands, but the numbers come, and the overseer watches you and says nothing, which you learn is the highest praise a scribe ever gets. You learn the first hidden rule of the system. It is written on the wall of every school and every office. The scribe directs the work of everyone, and no one directs the scribe. The soldier marches until his feet bleed. The farmer sweats for a harvest the taxmen take. The laborer carries stone until his spine bends. The scribe sits in the shade and writes it all down. In Egypt, the man who holds the record holds the man. But there is a cost, and it arrives quietly. Your rations improve. Your brothers don't. You eat in the scribe's compound now. Hui still sleeps on the reed mats. When you visit him, the other laborers go quiet. You are not one of them anymore. You are the man who counts them. He tells you he's proud of you. You believe him. You also see something behind his eyes that wasn't there before, and you pretend you don't. You copy the same phrase 100 times, the phrase carved on the great stela the boy king issued. He restored what was ruined. Temples, statues, priesthoods, revenues. Restoring what was ruined. You write it so many times it stops meaning anything. It will mean something later. You don't know that yet. At the end of the season, an overseer of granaries asks for your name. He writes it down. You watch your own name go into a record for the first time, and you feel the system swallow you whole, and it feels like being born. Level 3. The field scribe. Now you are the taxman, and everyone you meet is afraid of you. They give you a donkey, an assistant, a wooden rod, and a district. Your job is to measure fields after the flood, calculate the grain each farmer owes the state and the temples, and collect it. All of it. The harvest tax feeds the army, the priesthood, the palace, and the granaries that keep Egypt alive in famine years. You are 17 villages' worst day of the year. You learn what the rod is for. When a farmer hides grain and you find it, the law says he answers for it. The first time your assistant beats a man in front of his children, you look away. The second time, you don't. That is the level's hidden cost, and it costs less than you expected, and that is the part that should frighten you. You learn the second hidden rule. Everyone skims. The scribe above you takes a little. The overseer above him takes more. There is an honest number and a real number, and the space between them is where careers are built and destroyed. A vizier's court can order a corrupt official, beaten, mutilated, stripped of his name. You have seen a man's name chiseled off his own tomb. In Egypt, that is not disgrace. That is death after death. So you keep your numbers clean, not because you are good, but because you are careful, and you are starting to understand those are different things. You send grain home to your mother. You send barley beer to Hui at the Karnak works. His reply comes months later, scratched by a paid letter writer. The works are behind schedule. The overseers are pushing harder. The restoration must be finished, because the gods are watching, because the king is watching. You count so much wealth flowing north and south that your own poverty stops feeling real. None of it is yours. All of it passes through your hands. A man notices hands like that. A man in Memphis, who serves the overseer of the treasury. Level 4. The Palace Scribe. The first time you walk into the palace, you understand that everything you have ever owned would not buy the floor you are standing on. The floors are painted. Marsh birds, lotus pools, fish under your sandals, so that the king walks on Egypt itself. The walls breathe incense. Somewhere behind those walls lives Nebkheperure Tutankhamun, lord of the two lands, son of Amun, and he is 15 years old. You are a scribe of the royal household now. You count linen. You count wine jars sealed with the king's name. You count the geese for the king's table. And yes, there is meat every day, and you think of Hui laughing on a reed mat in the dark, and something in your chest turns over. You learn the palace's hidden rule fast, because the men who don't learn it disappear. Proximity is rank. Titles are ink. Distance is truth. A man who carries the king's sandals outranks a man who governs a province, if the sandal carrier hears what the king says at dawn. The whole court is a machine for measuring distance from one teenage boy, and every person in it, from the vizier to the girl who pours water, knows exactly how many steps stand between themselves and the god, and you learn the thing nobody writes down. The boy is not the power stands behind him, an old courtier called A, who bears the title God's Father, and has survived 3 kings, including the one whose name is forbidden. A general called Horemheb, king's deputy, commander of the armies, a man built like a monument, and Maya, overseer of the treasury, who counts everything you count, and everything everyone counts, all the way up. 3 adult men, 1 divine child. You watch them bow to the boy in public, and you watch the boy glance at them before he speaks, and you write down the number of wine jars, and you keep your eyes on the ink. The letter about your brother arrives in the 2nd year. A wall at the Karnak works, a rotten scaffold, 14 men. You read your brother's name on a casualty list written in a field scribe's hand, a hand just like yours used to be, and you understand that somewhere, a man in the shade counted Hui, subtracted him, and moved on. He carried stone to restore what was ruined. The restoration did not restore him. You go back to work the same afternoon. That is the cost of this level, not the grief, the fact that there is no room for it. Level 5, the cupbearer. Now you feed a god, and gods can be poisoned. The promotion comes because a royal butler dies, and Maya's office needs a man with clean records and no dangerous relatives. That is you now. A man with no dangerous relatives. You are appointed WBA, cupbearer, one of the servants who wait on the king's own table. You taste his wine before he drinks it. You taste his bread. Understand what that means. Twice a day, you place your own life between the king's mouth and whoever, in this city of loyal servants of the restoration, might want an 18-year-old god to die. You are furniture, and you are a shield, both at once. You see him now, up close, daily. And here is what nobody outside these walls will ever know. The living Horus limps. He walks with a cane. There are more than 100 walking sticks in his chambers, ebony and gold and ivory. because his left foot is ruined, and his body fails him in small ways his titles cannot fix. You watch a boy who owns the world between the cataracts and the sea, and he cannot run. He plays senet in the evenings. He shoots his bow from a chariot when his health allows, and his guards hold their breath every time. Once, he speaks to you. He asks whether the shipment of wine came from the western oases. You say, "Yes, Lord." He nods and looks past you, and you realize he has the loneliest eyes you have ever seen, because everyone he has ever known has wanted something from him since before he could speak. The hidden cost of this level is silence. You hear things at that table. You hear A recommend, softly, endlessly, until his recommendations sound like the king's own thoughts. You hear the queen, Tutankhamun, daughter of the forbidden king, sister and wife to this one, laugh at something, and then stop laughing when A looks at her. You hear Horemheb's name spoken when Horemheb is not in the room, and it is spoken carefully. You hear everything. You repeat nothing. Your discretion is now your entire value as a human being. And discretion, in this palace, gets rewarded with something far more dangerous than gold. Level 6. The Royal Scribe. They give you the king's words, and the king's words can kill. Royal Scribe. Overseer of the writing house of the palace. Letters go out under seals you prepare. Orders to garrison commanders in Nubia. Instructions to the treasury. Correspondence with vassal princes in the north, where the Hittites press closer every season, and Horemheb's soldiers hold a line that costs more men than anyone announces. You draft what you are told to draft. And now you finally see the machine from the inside. And the machine is this. The king commands nothing. The king consents. Documents arrive at the king's chamber already written, already agreed between Aya's people and Maya's people. And the boy applies his seal because he is 18, and he has been applying seals since he was 9, and no one has ever shown him another way to be a king. You learn the hidden rule of the inner offices. Never make the powerful choose between you and the truth. A scribe who writes the honest number in the wrong document does not get corrected. He gets replaced. So you develop a second set of instincts, a politics of the pen, and you feel yourself splitting into two men. The man who serves the king, and the man who serves the men who serve the king. They wear the same face, yours. Gold of honor comes to you in the 4th month of the season of emergence, a courtyard ceremony. The king himself, standing with his cane at the window of appearance, casts a gold collar down to you while the court applauds. It is the single greatest moment of your life. It weighs on your neck like a hand. That night, you write your own name for the pleasure of it, with your titles behind it, and the list is longer than the prayer your mother taught you. You try to remember Hui's laugh, and you cannot hear it anymore. Level 7. The Fan Bearer. Fan Bearer on the right hand of the king. Say it slowly, because men have schemed for 30 years and died without it. It sounds like nothing. A servant with an ostrich feather. It is everything. It means you stand at the king's right side in public and in private, in ritual and in council. I holds this rank. Horemheb holds this rank. And now, impossibly, you. There are perhaps a handful of you in the two lands, and every governor of every province would trade his office for your feather. You stand beside the god now, hours a day, and you cool the air on his face, and you see the empire the way he sees it, a river of kneeling backs. Here is what nobody tells you about the summit of intimacy. It is a summit of exposure. Every faction now counts you. Ai's men invite you to dinners where nothing is said, and everything is meant. Maya's clerks copy you on accounts you did not ask to see, so that later, no one can say you did not know. Officers loyal to Horemheb ask you casual questions about the king's health, and you give casual answers, and you both know there is nothing casual in Egypt about the health of a childless king. Because that is the crack in the center of the world. The king has no living heir. 2 daughters, born dead, buried in miniature coffins that you are not supposed to know exist. Every man at this court serves the king with one eye and watches the succession with the other. Restoring what was ruined, they carve on the temples. Positioning for what is coming, they whisper in the gardens. The hidden cost of this level is that you stop having thoughts. You have calculations. A friend is an asset. A dinner is a signal. A silence is a message. You catch yourself weighing the queen's chances against the general's, the old courtier's patience against the boy's frailty, and you realize you are no longer waiting for the future. You are betting on it. You sleep 3 hours a night. You are the second most trusted servant in the king's private chambers. You are there in the winter of year 9, when the king's fever will not break. Level 8, the Death Watch. There is no title for this level. No one has ever carved it on a tomb, but it is the truest rank you will ever hold. For 11 days, you stand in the doorway of a painted room and watch a 19-year-old god die. The physicians come with honey and herbs and incantations. The priests of Sekhmet come with rituals against plague. The leg that never healed, the fevers that keep returning, the body that was always a fragile vessel for an enormous name. You bring water he cannot keep down. You hold the fan. What else can you do? You hold the fan. The palace does not weep. Listen to what the palace does instead. It calculates. Messengers leave for Memphis at strange hours. I is in the antechamber every day, gray and gentle and unreadable. Horemheb is with the army in the north, and every day the king still breathes is a day the general is far from the throne, and everyone understands this arithmetic, and no one says it aloud. You watch Tutankhamun, twice widowed by her own family's history, sitting beside a dying husband-brother, and you understand she is calculating too, because she must, because a royal widow without a protector is not a mourner. She is a prize. The king dies before dawn. You are in the room. The living Horus, lord of the two lands, restorer of what was ruined, stops breathing while most of Egypt sleeps, and the first sound you hear afterward is not wailing. It is footsteps, fast ones, in every direction. 70 days. That is what the embalmers need, and that is exactly how long the court has to decide the fate of the world. 70 days of natron and linen for the boy. 70 days of knives in the dark for the living. The tomb isn't ready. His own grand tomb is unfinished, so they take a smaller one, a private one, and gild it into eternity at speed. Maya's workshops labor day and night. Officials donate treasures with their names attached, love and ambition sealed into the same wooden shabtis. And you learn the final hidden rule. A king's death does not end his usefulness. His funeral is a coronation, for someone. Level 9. The God's Father's Man. Whoever buries the king becomes the king. That is not law. It is older than law. On the wall of the burial chamber, the artists paint the scene before it happens. The new pharaoh, wearing the leopard skin of a priest, performing the opening of the mouth on the dead one. The face of the new pharaoh is eyes. Old, patient I, who whispered behind 3 thrones and now, near the end of his life, mounts one. The army is far away. The general reads the news in the north. You are not in the room where that message is read, and you thank the gods you aren't. You stood in the tomb. You saw the iron blade touch the golden mouth. You watched an old man inherit the world through a funeral, and every official in that corridor bowed to him before the paint was dry. And you? You survive. That is your rank now, though it fits on no monument. Survivor. You serve the dead king closely, which makes you valuable, because you can testify to continuity, and dangerous, because you remember things. Eyes people interview you gently. You are gentle back. You keep your titles. You keep your gold. You attend the sealing of the tomb, and watch workmen sweep away their own footprints, and you understand that you are watching the door close on your entire life's meaning. The cost of this level is the heaviest one, and it is this. You feel nothing. Not relief, not grief. Somewhere between the mud and the fan, between Hoy's casualty list and the gold collar, the system took the part of you that feels and paid you rank for it, installment by installment, and you signed every receipt. I reigns 4 years. Then he is gone too, and Horemheb comes south at last, with the army behind him, and the general becomes pharaoh, and the chisels come out. Level 10. The Ghost. You are an old man now, and you are watching stonecutters erase your king. Horemheb's men move through the temples with copyists and chisels. Where the boys' names were carved, restoring what was ruined, they cut them out and carve Horemheb's instead. The official king lists will skip from Amenhotep to Horemheb as if 20 years of your life never happened. The heretic, the boy, I, all of it, ruled out of existence. The restoration itself is being restored, over the bodies of the restorers. You still have your tomb, your titles, your gold of honor. You paid for it with a brother, a conscience, and a king, whose name you are no longer supposed to say. You are the last man alive who watched him play Senate in the evenings. You are the only person left in Egypt who knows the sound of his voice, and there is no one you can tell, and soon there will be no one to tell it about. But you know something the chisels don't. You were there when they sealed the tomb. Small, cramped, hidden, hurried, forgotten within a generation. And the forgetting, in the end, is the thing that will save him. Robbers will strip the great tombs of the great kings to their bones. The erased boy will lie untouched in the dark under the valley floor, golden face intact, waiting out 3,000 years, until the whole world knows exactly one pharaoh's name, his. The system devoured everyone. The mud swallowed the laborers, the court swallowed the scribes, the chisel swallowed the kings, and the one it erased most completely is the one eternity kept. On your last visit to Karnak, you stop in the outer court. The scaffolds are up again, new walls rising, new names being carved. And there, in the flood season sun, a line of laborers hauls stone, and at the end of the line is a boy, maybe 17, hands already bleeding, watching a scribe sit in the shade with a reed pen, and you can see the thought forming behind his eyes. He thinks he knows what he wants. He thinks he knows what it costs. He has no idea what he just started.